Welcome back to Lagos. Well, ahead of its second cycle of peer review, Nigeria has implemented most of the recommendations of the report. That's of the first African peer review mechanism, APRM, that was carried out in 2008. This much was revealed when President Muhammadu Buhari received in audience a team from the AU peer review led by the chairman, the National Governing Council of Nigeria at Aso Rock Villa. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
The African peer review mechanism was established in 2003. Nigeria was, however, first reviewed 5 years later.
Mr. President, sir.
The Chairman National Governing Council, APRM Nigeria, leads the review panelists to meet President Muhammadu Buhari. Their visit is to pave the way for a second cycle of review, an exercise said to be beneficial to the country.
The goal is to promote, strengthen, and increase the effectiveness of governance, standards, and socio-economic development in the country.
For the second cycle to happen, the country has submitted 2 reports.
We are also pleased that the country has implemented and addressed most of the panel's recommendations made in the first review report. For instance, the country has made reforms in the electoral system, including strengthening of the independence and capacity of the electoral management bodies.
I have been briefed.
The president outlines the effort of his administration to reposition the country.
We introduce policies, programs, and projects that focus on creating an inclusive and diversified economy, eliminating corruption and restoring peace to conflict areas.
The African peer review mechanism is a tool for sharing experiences and to reinforce best practices amongst others. These delegates will kick off a round of sensitization campaigns ahead of the review proper. A successful review will make Nigeria the first in West Africa to be reviewed twice under the APRM. Also at the Presidential Villa is a delegation of Surveyors Council of Nigeria, led by the President of the International Federation of Surveyors.
As you are aware,
President Buhari assured his guests that Nigeria will sustain the use of technology to improve agriculture yield. Before their departure, the President shared the successes of his administration in infrastructure development. From the Presidential Villa, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Germany is seeking improved bilateral ties with Nigeria with a promise to expand its partnerships through further investments in the country's power sector and other infrastructural development. Speaking at the 6th Binational Commission meeting between Nigerian and German delegates in Abuja, Germany's ambassador to Nigeria, Mrs. Birgit Ori, explains that Nigeria is a thriving ground for German investments. According to her, the Binational Commission is aimed at promoting stronger ties between the two countries by improving the socio-economic development of Nigeria and creating an enabling environment for investments.
The market size is a huge asset, and Nigeria certainly has market size. But what business is also looking for to invest and to come, and there is a lot of competition out there internationally, as you know, is reliable framework conditions. They need to know that a legal framework is in place and that they can build their businesses here and count on always the same procedures. Secondly, security, you touched upon that, a very important infrastructure as well, and that means roads, ports, railway, and so on. Custom procedures should be in place to work smoothly. If there is electricity, business will come. If cement comes, more big names will come. Medium and small family companies will come. Long-term investment will come. Sustainable economic development will be there. And that is creating perspectives for those who might want to try it rather here in Nigeria than abroad. So there is a huge political meaning to it. And I place confidence here that together with the Nigerian partners, this big German company will succeed in getting it done.
And how much is the coronavirus affecting the business world? Anne Wilder tells us more.
banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. And yes, indeed, the coronavirus is affecting the business world. The Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Mr. Mohamed Barkindo, says that oil prices may be on track to rebound. That's in spite of the impact of the coronavirus outbreak on crude demand. The oil chief says that OPEC and non-OPEC members have shown a renewed commitment for the joint action that will mitigate the volatility currently in the oil market. With international oil price benchmark Brent crude currently around $51 per barrel, that's the lowest since January 2019, all eyes are now on next week's meeting of Cartel and its allies in Vienna, Austria, for more definite outcome on crude prices around the world. The Senate has passed through second reading a bill which will provide a legal framework for electronic transactions in Nigeria. Presenting the bill during today's legislative proceedings, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Ibikunle Amosu, says the bill is necessary at this time as Nigeria's extant laws provide inadequate protection for e-commerce businesses and consumers.
The Electronic Transaction Bill seeks to provide a legal and regulatory framework for conducting transactions using electronic or related media, the protection of the rights of consumer and parties and their personal data, as well as the facilitation of electronic commerce in Nigeria. The bill also seeks to offer full protection to contracts entered into via emails and transactions conducted with online shops, electronic commerce, and service platforms, which are currently not provided for in our law. According to a CBN report, Mr. President, the value of electronic funds transfer in Nigeria has risen to 80 billion naira daily. The report further pointed out that in the first phase of the cashless policy, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System recorded over 20 billion naira daily transaction by value, while the Nigerian electronic funds transfer conducted about 60 billion naira transaction daily. With the next phase, which will include more states, electronic funds transfer will be on the increase due to expected changes, which will ipso facto necessitate the use of electronic funds transaction channels.
Let's talk about the stock market right here in Nigeria. The overall volume has fallen below the 14,000 trillion mark today. And that's 14 trillion naira mark, down by 86.55 billion naira. That's after investors extended sell pressure on high-valued stocks. Let's get more from Ekaite Afia.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. There's still no respite for the dwindling performance of the stocks on the local bourse as more sell pressure lowers the equity cap below the 14 trillion naira mark today. The latest round of profit-taking, which pushed the main index further away from the 27,000 level, is largely attributed to losses from consumer goods as well as oil and gas key components such as GT Bank, Nigerian breweries, and Owando. Agribusiness giant Flour Mills tops a list of 18 losers with an 8.70% loss in its share price, while Jaiz Bank, highest among 13 gainers, up by 9.43%. Meanwhile, the total volume of turnover for shares traded today was higher by 1.38% compared to the previous session, as 231.52 million shares changed hands in more than 3,600 deals, while Zenith Bank is still #1 on the trades list for Thursday. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ekaite Afia.
Thanks a lot, Ekaite. Well, as the coronavirus continues to affect major markets around the world, U.S. stock indexes have ended today's trading session deeper in the red, with the Dow sharply lower by more than 1,000 points. Let's say the figures for today. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwaudu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Well, let's take you back to the courtrooms where earlier in the day, when hours after the Lagos High Court struck out his application seeking a restraining order against the State House of Assembly, the former governor, Akinwumi Ambode, filed his notice of appeal. A copy of the documents, as obtained by Channels Television judiciary correspondent Shola Soyinle, shows that the former governor is seeking an order of the appeal court restraining lawmakers from taking further steps in respect of the probe pending the final determination of the appeal. The former governor also wants the court to issue an order restraining the lawmakers from taking any steps that will deprive him of his personal right to liberty. The notice of appeal document lists 4 grounds, with Mr. Ambode contending, among other things, that the court erred when it held that his suit was premature and that the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain it. He's asked the appeal court to set aside the decision of the Lagos High Court and to issue an order for the Chief Judge of Lagos, Justice Kazim Alogwa, to reassign the case to another judge for trial. Still in Lagos, a federal high court fixed April 27 for its judgment in the case filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, seeking the final forfeiture of 2 houses belonging to a former president of Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki. Justice Rilwan Aikawa fixed the date after listening to arguments for and against the final forfeiture of the houses in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, to the federal government. In his submission, counsel to the commission, Rotimi Oyedepo, said the former president of Senate spent 1.09 billion naira on the 2 houses, funds which he alleged were stolen from the coffers of Kwara State. The anti-graft agency claimed that it had evidence that Mr. Saraki, who was the state's governor between 2003 and 2011, diverted not less than 1 billion naira belonging to the state. On December 2, 2019, the agency obtained an interim order temporarily forfeiting the houses to the federal government. It is now urging the court to make the interim order permanent, a move that Dr. Saraki, through his lawyer, Mr. Kehinde Ogumiju, vehemently opposed, insisting they were built from his legitimate earnings. Still ahead on the news at 10, World Health Organization warns that coronavirus outbreak has reached a decisive point and has pandemic potential. Plus, 13-time champions Real Madrid to appeal red card shown to team captain Sergio Ramos against Manchester City in the UEFA Champions League. That's in sports news. Please stay with us.